Okay,
We're good. We're on.
we are live for another edition of the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. This is, let's see, this would be night five of the playoffs. And first thing we're going to do is going to
Yep.
talk about the game we didn't cover last night, which was Vegas and Minnesota. Minnesota came up very impressive win in Vegas last
They did a
night
good
to tie
job.
that series. I was saying before the playoffs started, we talked about it in the last podcast, that I felt a good feeling about Minnesota playing against Vegas. Even though Vegas won the first game, I think Minnesota's got a young team that really doesn't have anything to lose, and they showed it now.
They did a
They've
really good job.
they've got control of that series against Vegas going
Vegas.
into
Yeah.
Game Three. I think tomorrow night should be their Game
Yeah.
Three.
Minnesota tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So tonight there were only three games,
Huh.
and we had uh, the early game was a good one between Washington and Montreal. Um, Montreal took the lead in this game early. It was fast and furious. The first three
Yes.
goals
Yes.
came really
Yes.
quick, and then there was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had Montreal scored 116 into the game, and then Washington got a goal at 3:47, 4:47, and
Yeah.
then
Washington. It was all in the second. It was all in
yeah.
the second. Yeah. Second period.
And so the game was close until an empty netter late in the game. So Washington takes a 2-0 lead. Now, I think we both kind of leaning towards Montreal upsetting Washington in this series. Now Washington's up 2 games to nothing.
Yeah.
Going back to Montreal though, and you've said it before too in the podcast leading up to the playoffs, that the Canadians, when they get home to the Bell Center, that could be a big difference maker. They could get
Yeah.
right back into this series with Game Three and Game Four in Montreal.
Yeah. I mean, that crowd's going to be a raucous crowd, but Montreal has had a hard time scoring, and that's going to be tough for them to shake that. Honestly, they got to figure out a way to get the puck past him, because Washington hasn't needed to score very much to win. But however, again, that crowd's going to be really on them. So we'll see what that game looks like. I think Montreal wins game three, but we'll see. I mean, if they can't score, they're not going to. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the key, is they can
Yeah,
score goals.
yeah, and again, much like Minnesota, a young team, weren't expected to do much. weren't expected really to make the playoffs at
Mm-mm.
all, and they had a nice push towards the end of the season to make the playoffs.
Yep.
But that's going to be a good one coming up, going back to Montreal, and then a game. Let's go with the Stars Avalanche game
Yep. That just ended 5 minutes ago.
that just ended just after the Oilers Kings game. Goes into overtime. Colorado led for the most part until I think the third period. You were watching that game. I think, yeah. So the Stars didn't score until like nine
Yeah.
eighteen of the third period.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
then they they just they fought that game out, and Sagan won it in overtime. His second game back, I believe, from injury, because he was out for a while, or either his second or third game, and he
yeah,
wins in overtime. I saw a crazy stat too watching that game. Uh, for this series, Dallas has only led for 1 minute and 8 seconds of the whole series.
a
Like a
minute
game,
and 8 seconds, and they've
a
got a
minute of
2-1
eight
lead.
seconds that they've led in these games, and they are leading 2-1.
They're
So they've
leading
won
two to
twice.
one.
Yep. The only other game they had a lead in, um, was they had the lead in game two for 1 minute and 8 seconds before Colorado tied the game. Uh, so pretty crazy that Colorado's led for like 90 plus minutes. Dallas only led for a minute and they're leading. But huge missed opportunity for the Avalanche, because there was a double minor penalty at the end of the third, a high sticking penalty on Brock Nelson that he got clipped in the nose.
Mhm.
And second straight game that the Avalanche go in overtime with the power play and they don't convert, and Dallas ends up winning the game. I mean, that's a heartbreaker, because if the Avs lose this series, that's 2 opportunities to go up 3-0 in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And now Dallas is up 2-1, and they've got home ice back, just
Yeah.
like that.
Just like that, yeah.
And if they win again, they're up 3-1 going back home without Robertson, without Heiskanen. That's pretty crazy if they can do that, if they can pull it off.
Well, like you said, you know what? If you go into an overtime with that's what was wound up being 3 minutes worth of the 4-minute power play, and you don't do anything and you wind up losing, that hurts, because you got all the momentum going into overtime. You've got the extra attacker, especially for 3 minutes. That's a long time for your penalty killers to be out there. And Dallas just prevails again 5 minutes into overtime. So they lead that series 2-1.
I've got one word for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Otter, man. He's just been keeping him, making those big saves when he needs to, and he's just there.
He didn't look very sharp towards the end of the season.
No.
But much like a lot of money goaltenders that come up big in the playoffs, he's one of those guys that'll come up and they can ride Otter a long way, like they did to the Western Conference Finals last year.
That's going to be a scary team if they advance and they get Robertson and Heiskanen back. That's a very dangerous team.
Yeah, very dangerous. Now the other game tonight was a stinker, to say it nicely, between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. And you kind of called it earlier this month by saying, this is the best chance for the LA Kings to beat the Oilers after losing to them 3 years in a row. And the game started out a lot better for the Oilers in the first period. It kind of turned things around from the first game, where they were lackluster in the first 40
the first
minutes
half of the game.
This time, they were in the game. They were down 2-0 at one point, but they got it back to 2-1, and then made it 3-2. And then in the third period, look,
LA just blew the game open.
LA has 5 power play goals in the first 2 games, 3 of them tonight. So you look at it, it's
roles reversed.
Yeah, it's totally reversed from last year. If you take those 3 power play goals away, the game is tied. And so again, we talked about it after the game 1. We've talked about it between the games. The Oilers have to be more disciplined, because it's obvious they can't take penalties against this powerful LA power play that, since Kuzmenko has come to the team after the trade deadline, has really shored up that penalty. The
refs are calling a lot of penalties in that series. I know that. They're calling everything.
They're calling everything, and there's a lot of frustrating penalties on the Oilers, and you can just tell by looking down the bench. It's a frustrated team right now, and they didn't do the miracle that they did the other night in game 1. And now
it did not feel the same though watching that game. I just didn't feel like that was going to happen. I mean, LA just was being LA, and they controlled the tempo. I mean, the Oilers, like you had texted me, I texted you, plenty of sloppy errors in this game that led to breakdowns, which led to goals, and you don't want to do that against that team, and they got to clean that up, or it's going to be a short series if they don't.
Yeah, and the Oilers have not led in this series at all. You talk about the Stars only leading for 1 minute and 8 seconds. The Oilers have not led at all in this series. And you can't keep playing from behind, even with players like McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman. You can't play.
You still got good players in the other team.
Yeah. So now, they're down 0-2. Yep. It's not a good situation to be in. There's other teams like, New Jersey's in the same position. Ottawa's in the same position. Montreal's in the same position. St. Louis is in the same position. Now Edmonton's in the same position of being down 0-2. But going back to Edmonton, things, have to change for the Oilers. They've got to be more aggressive. They've got the home crowd. You've been to Edmonton. You've seen the crowd. You've seen games at Rogers Place. The Oilers now will have last change. I think really, we talked about it too. They got to split up McDavid and Draisaitl, get them on because they're a more deadly team with them being on separate lines. And then if you get into a situation where it's late in the game and you maybe need a goal or two, then you can go back to them being together. But
I think that they're trying too hard to fit these guys in that haven't played, to be
mhm,
honest with you. Like I get like okay, like guys like Evander Kane, Trent Frederick, guys like that, they're good players, but they're trying to just throw them in the lineup and fit them in and make them work. And
yeah,
they haven't played with these guys, and it's throwing them off. Like honestly, to try to win, you might want to put Skinner back in the lineup, Jeff Skinner back in the lineup, and get somebody in for because it's just not working. Like it's
yeah.
not. And outside of that first line, nothing's happening on that in the team. Nothing.
No, you got to look at the last 10 to 12 games of the regular season without the big guys in there, without a lot of players in there. The guys that took over still wound up getting like I think a 7-3 record or something like that uh,
No.
in the last
Yeah,
few
games.
games.
Now
So
let
now
me ask you this:
mhm,
what do you do for Game 3? Who's going to be in the net
you got
for
to
Game
put
3?
Calvin Pickard in. Stu Skinner has given up 11 goals on 50 some odd shots in the series, and like I know a lot of them have been defensive lapses, but you have to do what you did in the Vancouver series. You pulled Skinner tonight. You get Pickard in there. I know Pickard did give up a goal on his first shot.
2-on-1 though.
Yeah, so I think you really have to go with Calvin Pickard in Game 3 and possibly Game 4 because you can't. Stu's just his confidence isn't there, and I don't think the team as a whole, their defense like is really missing Mateus Ekholm. It's
Yeah,
obvious.
they're
It's blatantly obvious that they are missing him on the blue line, and he's not going to be available this round. So they're going to have to figure something out. But yeah, I think you have to go with Calvin Pickard. This is one of those decisions you hate to have to make. But if
you
you
have to
don't win
win.
Game 3, if you don't win Game 3, the series pretty much is over because I don't know if they're going to be able to do like they did against Florida last year.
Uh,
And
yeah,
I
he looks rough. He
yeah,
does. He just looks shaky.
he just
Even
looks
the ones that don't go in, it's like there's scrambles all going
yeah
around. It's like it's not good.
yeah no. So I think you put Pickard in, you get a little different look from a goalie that's a little bit more agile on his feet, a little bit more exciting of a goaltender. And you got to do something. It's you can't wait. Regular season you can
You only
roll
got
wait
two
and
more.
see.
Your season can be only 2 more games. Your
Yeah,
season
you
can
you
only be
could
two
be
more games.
done on Sunday. You've got to do something and shake things up. Put Pick in. He got 20 wins this year. It's not like he got like 7 wins and as a
You,
backup goaltender.
but you've got. I don't know. You've got both teams having opposite problems, opposite problems. Like the Kings' defense, for the most part, has been solid, and they've been able to control the zone
Yeah.
and clog it up. And the Oilers' defense has not been very pleasant.
No.
We talk about Bouchard making a lot of errors, little errors that are going on that shouldn't be, and that's causing goals or penalties to happen. And
Mhm.
you don't want to take a penalty against that LA team because they're gonna. I mean, by the numbers, they score one at every 2 times,
Yeah.
which isn't clean or good.
No. So okay. So that series goes back to Edmonton on Wednesday. Oh, I'm sorry, on Friday night,
Friday night,
and they'll play Saturday or Sunday night as well. So coming up tomorrow, there's going to
four
be
games
four
tomorrow.
games tomorrow, and starting with the Panthers and the Lightning in
Yep.
Tampa Bay. That's game 2.
And Toronto,
Uh,
Ottawa.
Toronto, Ottawa for game 3 in Ottawa. So that could be a difference. Again, it's the same situation as the Oilers find themselves in. The
Yeah,
Senators need to win
could be
this one.
3-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, and it's such a big difference being either down 0-3 or just down 2-1.
Because if you're down 2-1, you're at home.
You're
You can
at
win that
home and
second game.
you got that game, and then it's all even again. And then after that will be the Knights and the Wild.
That
After
St.
that
Louis Winterpeg.
great win by the Wild, and then St. Louis at home to Winnipeg. So everything will start at about 5:30 Central Time. The last
The
game
games are
starts
earlier
at
tomorrow.
8:30. Yeah, so the last game will start at 8:30. So we'll be on a little earlier tomorrow night than we have been. So again, just to run down where we're at, you can see on the screen. Carson has updated where we are. Out east, Carolina leads New Jersey 2-0. Toronto leads Ottawa 2-0. Washington leads Montreal 2-0, and Florida and Tampa Bay, they've only played one game, and Florida has a 1-0 lead there. Out west, Winnipeg has a 2-0 lead on St. Louis. Dallas, as they just won in overtime, so they have a 2-1 lead on Colorado. Vegas and Minnesota
I didn't update that.
They're tied at 1 each, and of course the Kings have a 2-0 lead on the Edmonton Oilers. So again, we'll be back tomorrow night a little earlier than we normally are because that last game doesn't start until 8:30, depending on overtime too. That's the great thing about about the NHL playoffs. Overtime happens quite a bit, and it's exciting. But we'll be on the air. You can see our the past 4 nights worth of shows on the Refocus Radio Network on the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast YouTube channel. Also, it's available on Spreaker.com. We'll be here on Facebook Live. You can we'll if you missed this live, we will share it here, and you can see it again. And
I updated it. There we go.
Okay, there we go. This is a quick update. You can catch this podcast will be available tomorrow on the Refocus Radio Network, and you can catch the I Am Refocus Radio show with Shamaya Reed and Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. all on the Refocus Radio Network. So again, we wrap things up for the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs night number 5. We'll be back tomorrow night, 4 games. Carson and I will be on a little bit later tomorrow night after the final game is played. And in the meantime,
hold on, I need to close this. I need to close this one out today.
Okay, you close.
In the meantime, well, this is going to be different from yours. You're not going to like it. Okay. In the meantime, and in between time, Skinner.
And they were even getting on pick.
I know. Brutal.
Yeah. So okay, we'll end it there. It's like I don't know what to say. It's like he kind of deserved that. It was just like
he did.
Yeah. So all right, we will talk to you. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow night.
All right. Bye then.
Bye, Car.